Today is the 11th of November, and at 11 o'clock today, that is the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month, Australia will be commemorating the end of World War I, the so-called 11th hour, when the war to end all wars ended, supposedly because of the huge devastation of that war. Europe had never seen anything like it before. Towns levelled, constant shelling, the terror of the trenches. It was all supposed to end on the Armistice Day over 100 years ago. We know it didn't. We know at even this time there's a great war raging in Europe. I sometimes wonder, will humanity ever learn? Unless we're affected by war ourselves directly. It seems that wars overseas and far away are not of our concern, although now we feel the effects globally in the economics and living standards of our lives. It doesn't affect us the way it affects those involved in the war itself. Some of my earliest memories of my grandfather, who would have then been in his 60s, late 60s, confined to bed, a cripple, because of his involvement in the trench warfare of World War I. He was just one of millions of casualties. My own father was involved also in World War I and World War II. He was a boy soldier in World War I, joining at 14 years of age as a drummer boy to go out to Mesopotamia to fight the Turks, which of course is now Iraq. My own childhood, between the ages of 3.5 and 9 years of age, World War II raged. And when the war finished, the people involved in that war were forgiven, except perhaps the leaders. There was no animosity left between the people of England and the people of Germany, in the main, even a few years after the war. And today, the enemies of the Australians at Gallipoli, the Turks, are now our friends. You wonder about it all. The waste, the suffering, the expense. Will we ever learn? When that lone bugle sounds today, mournfully, in the last post, as it's done for over 100 years now in Australia, we'll commemorate the soldiers who died in those First and Second World Wars and wars since then, and we'll know that no matter how hard we try, personally, the wars will go on. Why is it? What is it within the human being that can't control itself to the degree that it will fight in wars? Is there any hope for humanity? Will we ever have world peace? I think we will, but it will only come about when each of us takes responsibility for our own lives and simply refuses to go out and kill people that we have nothing against personally because our government leaders tell us to do so. Until that time comes when the young people, because it's always the young they call on, just say, no, we're not going. And if enough people around the world did that, the wars would end. And the war to end all wars might at last reach home to the people, and they look back and say, look at all that devastation. Look at all that waste. Look at all that suffering. For what? And when enough of us can do that, the human race will have grown up and wars will come to an end.